Hey everybody, Jason here, and in this video I'm going to do something a little bit differently. This is going to be my first time actually running through a NLP pattern with you guys, so I'm a little bit excited about this. I'm curious to hear your feedback and your responses. And the pattern that I'm going to go over today is a pattern called the New Behavior Generator. And so the New Behavior Generator is a pattern that you can use to basically generate new, more resourceful ways of behaving, of responding in the world, in a situation where typically you respond in a way that you're not so proud of, you're not so happy of, and that you'd like to change. And so the first step in this process, if you're going to be doing it with yourself, is to think of that situation. So when is a time where you respond less than resourcefully and you would like to generate some new behaviors for yourself so that you can respond in a way that's more resourceful than you have been. So take a moment, pause the video, find an experience if you'd like to practice this, find an experience in your mind and come back once you have one. And also, again, for the purpose of this video, I want you to pick something on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe at like a 4 to a 6. We don't want anything major. It's kind of a disclaimer. It's just through the video. I'm not there with you. So I want you just to pick something for experimentational purposes only. And then once you become more comfortable with the pattern, you can work with something a little bit more stronger, a little bit more serious. So pause the video now if you'd like to, if you don't have one yet, and find a memory to work with. Wonderful. So the first step in this is to step into that memory and re-experience it as if it was now, right? So you go float back into yourself, relive that experience. So see what you saw there, hear what you heard there, feel what you feel there as you play out that movie in your mind from your own perspective at that time, right? So you're reliving it as if it's now. You respond the way that you respond on autopilot. And so if you prefer to pause the video, you can do that and just replay that memory from the first perceptual position. So looking through the you of, the last time that you did that, or the time that you can remember very vividly, through his or her eyes, as if you were reliving that experience and responding on autopilot. And you can just do that now. Take a moment to perceive that. Great. So now we're going to perceive that same memory, but from a different perspective. So this time, rather than floating back into that younger version of yourself, we're going to kind of float out into kind of almost like you were watching it on a TV screen. And I just want you from the outside, in a kind of a non-judgmental state, just observing, right? Just, how to look and just observe. And I want you just to non-judgmentally just look and watch that movie from the outside perspective. And notice how it's a different sense, right? When you watch that kind of memory, you see yourself in that memory behaving the way that you typically behave on autopilot. Notice what you can kind of learn from watching that from the outside perspective. And notice how it's different than the first time that you experienced it from the inside. And again, if you'd like to pause the video and take a moment to do that, of course, don't do this if you're driving, but if you'd like to pause the video and do this, take a moment to do that now. Okay, so the next step now is to think of somebody who handles this situation, who would handle the situation very resourcefully. So this can be someone that you know. This can be a historical figure that you can imagine them handling it very well. It can be an imagined figure, someone that, like a Superman or a Batman. How would, right, this resourceful but imaginative model that you have. And really we're going to, in a way, use NLP modeling. So we're going to pick somebody who we think would handle the situation just exactly the way that we would like to handle it. And what we're going to do is we're going to, from this outside perspective, this third perceptual position, kind of like we're watching it on a screen from the outside, we're going to play that same memory again, but rather than it being us, a younger version of ourselves in that movie, we're going to place that model of excellence, that person who would handle that situation perfectly well, in replacement of us and kind of watch it like a movie and say, how would that person respond? And so again, I want you to pause the video or the audio now, and I want you just to take a moment and play through that memory, but with that model there instead of you. Great. And in watching that model do it, there's probably some things that you can learn and also notice about what they're doing that's different than what you have and had been doing. And this again will add some additional perspective, right? So we got some additional perspective on it when we stepped out. We saw it from a different perspective, and we may have been able to evaluate the situation a little bit differently when we viewed ourselves from the outside. We also can gain some additional insights from watching a model of excellence handle that situation effectively. Now what we're going to do is we're going to, this next time of replaying the same mental movie, the same mental memory, is that this time we're going to float our awareness into that model of excellence so that we are that model of excellence. And we are going to be the person, right, back into the actor role. However, we are that model of excellence, and we're going to act that out in our minds, experience it in our minds, as if we are now the actor doing what we just watched our model of excellence do. So we are going to step into it and become that model of excellence and behave the way that that we just watched them behave, but now we're in it and we're experiencing it from the first perspective, okay? So I'd like you to, again, to pause the video now and relive this movie from that perspective. So how was that? That must have been a little bit different than the first time that you played that kind of experience, that mental movie in your mind. And you may again have learned a new way or some new ways of responding and emoting and feeling in that situation. And it's at this point sometimes that some objections come up, right? So yes, I can do that, but, maybe I'm going to be a little bit too harsh, or yeah, but that's not who I am, or yeah, but then I feel inauthentic. And so again, a lot of people aren't going to have any objections there. They're going to really learn some new ways of responding there that they really like, and they really just hadn't thought of before as a possibility for themselves. And having experienced that in your mind once, it's a wonderful frame of reference and foundation that you might automatically remember the next time you get in that situation. And you can do that. If you're one of the people who had an objection come up in your mind, for example, I can do that, but I don't feel authentic, then I'd like you to, again, pause the video, replay that memory in your mind, and you can replace the word authentic with whatever your objection is. I don't feel authentic, it doesn't feel natural, but, if I did that, I'll be just like my dad, whatever your objection is in your mind. And I want you just to replay it. However, I'd like you to do it as like, I'm going to be that actor, but I'm also going to be authentic, right? So I'm going to experience that through the eyes and in the body and in the experience of that model of excellence, while still remaining authentic, while still being myself, while still being natural, while not having any of the negative aspects of my father or whatever the objection is, just to kind of surgically cut that area out so that you can relive it and really still satisfy that objection. And you can pause the video and redo that now if you'd like. Awesome. So now we're at the last step, which is, now that you have experienced it, I want you to play that memory one more time. However, instead of being in the body of that role model, do it from your own perspective based on all of these new learnings that you've generated from all these different ways of perceiving the situation, all of the new learnings that you've gained through all of these different perspectives. I want you to, from the body of the actor, through your own eyes, see what you see, hear what you hear, feel what you feel as you play that out with all of your new resources, and notice how you can respond more effectively with more resources, more naturally, more authentically, and more in the way that you would like to respond in that situation. And you can do it in a way that really settles well for you. And I'd like you just to do that now. So play it out one more time through your own perspective with all of these additional resources and learnings that you've gained from this exercise. Wonderful. And my last question for you is, do you like this new way of responding? Does this serve you? Do you have any objections to this? And if you don't, and if you do like it, and if it does serve you, then what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to imagine yourself, you might want to close your eyes and imagine yourself moving out into the future with this new way of responding, with these new behaviors, with these new patterns of responding, with these new resources. And notice how when you imagine the next time that you would come into that kind of situation with these resources, how you can respond much more resourcefully, totally differently. You are behaving in a way that is aligned with the new behaviors that you've generated. And notice how you can just do that easily. And even imagine going out into the next days and weeks and months and years with these new ways of responding. Notice how that impacts your life. Notice how that impacts your relationships. Notice how that impacts your productivity, your level of fulfillment, your friends, your family members. Just notice how when you can generate, because you've generated these new ways of responding and because you've stretched your mind and become more resourceful, that really you can do almost anything with yourself. And just notice how taking this out with you into your future, how much that serves you. And I'll ask you one more time, is this something that you would like to keep? Because if so, you can allow your unconscious mind, your other than conscious mind, to integrate this pattern as a habit, just like the habit that you had before. And you can even just smile, noticing how easy it was for you to generate a new behavior for yourself. So as you kind of come back to the present fully, if you were somewhere in your mind and just kind of let all of that go, holding on to what serves you and leaving what doesn't, I'd love for you to share your comments and your feedback with me. What did you learn? What was your experience? And even come back in a couple of weeks afterwards and let me know how this worked for you. So I hope you found this valuable. I hope you enjoyed this pattern, and I look forward to seeing you in future videos. Have a great rest of your day.